reminded myself that Mama was my sole purpose for coming today. She was the calming one, the nurturing one, the only person in my family worth spending time with, and the source of my unconditional love. The walk up the pebbled concrete driveway was much too short. Leaves crunched beneath my brown Prada riding boots, and the breeze offered a hint of iciness, almost like a foreboding chill telling me to turn around. I shivered, adjusted the scarf around my neck, and knocked. Mama swung open the newly polished oak wood door. The woman barely reached my chin, yet she threw her hands around my shoulders and forced me to lean down. My back gladly bent to her command, and my senses lit up with pure joy from the smell of her coconut hair oil and rosewater perfume. She smelled like home. We hugged a few seconds longer. It always hurt to let her go, like maybe she'd wither away. Hugging her was the only way I felt like I could protect her. She pulled back and swatted the air, her eyes moist. "Why do you always knock? You have a key." I removed my boots outside the door and followed her inside, the decorated tiles cold beneath my socks. "I know, but it's your house, your privacy." "We knew you were coming. What were you going to interrupt, huh?" She smiled, that genuine, heartfelt smile of hers, the one that made my heart ache because it had become a rare sight over the years. The spicy aromas of curried vegetables and buttery roti wafted from the kitchen, rolled through the hallway, and greeted me in the foyer. My mouth instantly watered. Who didn't melt a little when they smelled their mother's home cooking? As I made my way down the hall, I saw Dad sitting on the couch in the family room across from the kitchen. His khaki-covered legs were crossed, and a newspaper was in his hand. The gentle swish of turning pages filled the silence as I waited for his acknowledgement. But after a few cold seconds, I said, "Hey, Dad." "Liya," he stated in that impassive, flat tone of his. Nice. Not even a smile or eye contact. Something in that shuffling newspaper must have been pretty important. I walked to the stove and peered into pots and pans, my nostrils greedily inhaling many wonderful scents. Mama pulled down plates and cups from the cabinets and set the table. We didn't usually eat at the table, which should have been my first clue. "You outdid yourself," I said, popping a seasoned slice of radish into my mouth. A pinch of salt hit my tongue. Curried vegetables in muted hues of green and orange were piled high in a bowl. Spicy dal with a swirl of paprika-induced red glistening on the surface simmered in a pot next to a platter of saffron-infused yellow rice. On the granite countertop, crispy papad with hot spots of fennel were stacked on a metal dish beside an open container of creamy raita with bright pieces of mint leaves. My stomach growled something fierce. "Just the everyday. I can't believe you cook like this twice a day, every day." I dipped a piece of cucumber into the raita and relished the taste. There was something calming about the refreshing crunch mixed with the tangy yogurt. "You should spend more time in the kitchen with your mother and learn how to cook," Dad said, his eyes glued to the paper. "What will you feed your husband and children?" "Food," I replied as I grabbed a spoon, dipped it into the piping hot dal, and took a tentative sip of the tomato-heavy sweet and sour soup. He scoffed. "Takeout, you mean? A woman should be able to cook 3 fresh meals a day. You don't want your husband to starve." "I'm sure if it came down to starvation, he could figure things out," I said, annoyed that his comments took me away from the beauty of Mama's cuisine. "He would be too tired after a long day of work. The least you can do is have a hot meal ready when he steps through the door to show your appreciation." "You do remember that I have an MBA and was recently promoted to lead in my department."